Hi guys, so today in this video we're going to be looking at Pat Martino's version of Oleo, the live version that he played in a club called Yoshi's. Yeah, so what we're going to do, we're going to take you through. I've done the first A section and the first B section, as it's quite a nice little intro into his big long solo that he's got in this track. So yeah, what we'll do, we'll go through it, I'll walk you through the solo and we'll analyse a few bits along the way. Cool, so to start off, in the first half of the A section, he sticks to the G minor, pentatonic and blues scale quite a bit, with a few outside notes here and there. So he starts off, the first note is actually starts 2 bars before the bar 1 of the form. So you'll see on the transcription it's got like a it's just got the tie there, but in the video at the end you'll see me, I just play the note on the downbeat. So he just starts off with just simple, you know, just testing the waters a little bit, and then he goes into this sort of really cool run, which is just based around like the G minor, G minor natural scale, natural minor scale, and bits of the blues scale as well, with some in between notes, which is pretty cool. So the first bar starts off as, I'll play the first 4 bars. So the first 4 bars there. So he starts off by starting from the F and landing on the B flat, then up to the D, and he comes back down chromatically to the C. And then he goes back up on the minor scale again. And then he does this pretty cool sequencing thing. But it's like everything's anchored on the B flat, and it goes chromatically down, which goes like. And then again chromatically lands on the G, and then on bar 5 that's when he lands on the A natural, and he doubles that up. So far there's nothing really exciting going on here. He's just using obviously Oleo's in B flat in this version, and he's using the relative minor to solo on just for the first A section really. So yeah, then he goes up to this A natural and then comes down in tones, and then sort of goes a little bit more into the natural minor scale with the flat, and then comes down chromatically to the C. And that C is the beginning of bar 6, which then goes so yeah, he lands on the major 7th, which is an interesting note to land on, but then sort of immediately almost resolves it by going to the F. So this is what we got so far. Cool. And then he just sort of sits back a little bit almost, and he just messes around with the pentatonic scale. It's really easy to read on the transcription, which I'll put in a link in the description. So the next bit he's just got the on the 3 and 4, and then just as he hits the same place in the next bar, he's got like a bit of a D. So and then he slides up to this D, so he goes. So that's quite a nice little sort of, not bluesy but cool little jazzy pentatonic lick there. And then he repeats this theme again, which is also cool. You know, having a theme in your solos makes it a lot more interesting. And he does just that, but slightly alters it at the end. So the next one goes. So yeah, he comes right down to that B flat at the end, and now going into the B section, this is where he sort of flies off the hook, and he's really going for it now. So the first little line he's got is starting on the flat 5th of the G minor. We're still in the key of G minor, or about to go into the key of G major, with obviously the D. But he's still in G minor. So this next lick goes. Nothing too difficult. And then when he gets actually into the B section, he sort of goes into a D altered sort of shape. So where he plays it, if D altered was, oh sorry, his next line in that bit is starting on the 2nd beat. And he's got like a bit of a weird G there. I don't know if that was an intended note, or if he just made a little mistake. But yeah, it's still quite a nice, cool atonal sort of part there. So yeah. So that's sort of like an altered-ish sort of sound, which obviously we know goes really well over the D. And then he sort of goes to it goes into the key of C major, but he's sort of using sort of a B flat minor sort of shape to start off with. And as you can see there, he goes into sort of an E flat minor arpeggio. So that whole bar is over the G7, where you've got like the B flat in there, and you've got the D flat. Obviously that's the minor 3rd and the flat 5th, so it sort of creates like a minor 7 flat 5, and also you've got the C in there as well. So it creates like a minor 7 flat 5 sort of bitonal sort of sound. So this creates a sort of quite a weird sound, but once you listen to the track, it's just a really outside sort of hip lines going on here. And the next bit he's got, so he's sort of got like half a sequence there. But instead of going, he's got this like. which then goes down and sort of makes an enclosure to the E natural. Which is a nice little feature there. Now that sounds like he's about to go into the C7, which, you know, it's the correct sort of line to use, but when he actually gets to the C7, he uses what is basically, on the shape of the guitar, is basically like an A flat pentatonic. It's completely outside of this, of the actual chord itself. You know, in fact, none of the notes apart from one in this bar are actually in the key of this song. So yeah, this bar goes like, and then that'll be beat 1 of the next one. So he sort of uses this sort of A flat, or what I would call it A flat pentatonic sort of, and then he sort of goes to like a C Phrygian sort of shape by going to the B flat and then getting the flat 6th in there, and then the 5th. But then he goes down to the G flat, sort of like a passing note to the F. So it just basically goes chromatic down there to the F. Then when he gets to the F, he returns to sort of like a G blues sort of / minor sort of sound, which goes like this. There's the blues note. And then he uses that D to go into the F7, which the first note goes on an E flat. But he goes up, he goes on to the major 7, which is quite a interesting sound if you're playing over a dominant 7, quite dissonant. But gets quickly resolved to the E flat, and he sort of returns. He sort of the whole shape in that bar is sort of like an F mixolydian, and then he's got another enclosure here, which lands him on that B flat, and it takes him to a sort of takes him towards this sort of A flat minor shape, which I'll show you in a second. So he goes up to this A flat minor sort of sound, which is quite interesting. It's a bit the same way how he used the B flat sort of shape over the G7 earlier. Sort of like a bitonal sort of minor 7 flat 5 sort of sound, and obviously that's like a little sequencing. Sort of thing, and then lands on the first bar of the last A, on the minor 7th, even though it's a major 7 chords, B flat major 7. He lands on the A flat, and then goes to this sort of. He starts off. So I'll play the line. So when he goes to the F, that's all in the key of the G7 mixolydian, but then he sort of messes around with the tonality again and goes so that he returns to the G minor sort of sound, and then gets into the C minor, starts on the 9th, and then he's still sort of playing around with G minor again, so it's almost as though he returns to this G minor sort of sound. So that last part there, where it lands on the D minor 7, he sort of has, but he lands on an E flat. It sort of creates a flat 9 sort of sound, which is quite interesting. And obviously he goes down to the D, which is in the key of both obviously D minor and G7 as well, but then the last note returns to an E flat again while he's on the G7, which is another push towards that bitonality sort of thing. But yeah, that's the whole solo. Hope I went through it slow enough for you. There's a video of me playing it at 80% speed, so you can see what it sounds like throughout, for the whole thing played. And obviously if you wanted to hear it up to speed, you can just listen to the track. But yep, thanks guys.
Thank you.